Hey guys, welcome back to Stinson Farms. Hey, we're up the farm today doing some work on the John Deere 7000 planter. I told you in the last video we was going to do some upgrades on this planter, and that's what we're up here doing today. It's a cloudy, cool, overcast day, but at least it's not raining, and we're going to get some work done on this and try to get this thing ready to go here in the next week or two and start some planting. But let me show you what we're doing. I've talked about going to do some no-till planting this year, and I haven't done that before. Well, let me start around here. This planter is it is set up with the coulter and the Yetter row cleaners. We've got all of this set up. I think we're going to be able to get our seed in the ground in a no-till application. I'm going to have to do some checking and adjusting on the planter, and we'll do that in another video to try to get it leveled out and plant at the right planting depth, the right down pressure on the row units, and we'll get all that set. But what I'm doing back here right now, I've got these smooth closing wheels on here, and these are just your common regular closing wheels, and they work great. Haven't had any issues with getting the corn covered up and getting a stand on my corn. But in a no-till application, especially some of this ground we're going to be planting is going to be some pretty heavy sod. So what I want to do is try to do the best I can and try to get this thing set up to where to do a little better job. So here's what we're doing. I have bought a set of Yetter poly twister closing wheels, and these wheels are a little bit larger in diameter from the original wheels, and plus they've got these knobs on here that are supposed to penetrate the side of your trench, seed trench, and collapse that wall. And of course in here you'll be throwing some loose dirt, kind of tilling the dirt up or churning the dirt up over top of the seed. And I've watched some of these plant, not in person, but watched some videos of them, and they look like they do an outstanding job. Some of you guys out here might already use them, but I was really concerned about getting my seed covered up and the trench closed good in this heavy sod ground. So I thought I'd try these out. So I ordered these from Sloan Express. Is where I got them. They were a little hard to get everywhere that I checked, and I ordered these a couple months ago. But everywhere I checked, they were out of stock. They were hard to get. I guess they're real popular. But they also don't come standard for the 7000 planter. You've got from the 93 models, the 1700, 72 or whatever planters, John Deere and Kinsey and whatever other brands. The later model planters is what they fit. To fit this planter, I had to buy a conversion kit. So I'm telling you that for this reason. I bought what they said was a conversion kit that I would have to put on this machine to get the closing wheels to work. But here's what I got. So what they sent me was a sample 5/8 inch bolt that was cut off to 3 1/4 inches long. Now I'll show you how this all goes together in a minute. But when you put this bolt in, when you slide it in this sleeve right here and pin it, and then put your closing wheel on, it's not long enough. You don't have room to even get your nut on, because you want your closing wheels to be approximately inch and a half apart. Now I may have to adjust that some, and when we get this thing in the ground and we're doing the adjustment on to see how it plants, we want to make sure that we've got the center of this opening lined up with the center of our trench. And then doing that, we got an equal amount of pressure or equal amount of soil on either side of the trench for these wheels to hit. And we also don't want these knobs running in the trench. We want them running to the side of it, collapsing it in on them. So we may have to adjust these in and out a little bit to get that to happen. I may have to bring them a little closer. I may have to bring them a little further apart. I don't know. We'll just see what we need to do at that time. But in order to do that, in order to have the adjustment and the ability to do that, I had to make some more pins. And as you can see, this pin is about 1.25 inches longer than the original, which is a little longer than necessary, but it is long enough that I've got plenty of adjustment room. Right now I've got these two set at 1.5 inches apart down here from knob to knob, and that's where we're going to start. Now I may have to widen those out some, so I needed a little adjustment room. So that's what the extra length there is for. So this is a standard 5/8 bolt. It has got a 1/4 inch hole drilled, I think 7/16 from the end, and that fits in this little slot right here. Lines up there where you can put your roll pin in there, or spring pin, and that's it. Bolts are not cheap, but this conversion kit was a little over $100 and it doesn't work. So I recommend that if you try to do this on your 7000 planter, just go ahead and make your own pins. It's not that difficult, and the ones that I got well, they won't work in this application. Now this planter is a 74 model. It's I think the first year they made the 7000. If not, it's close. And the later model 7000s, these shorter pins may work. I don't know, but they don't on this. I had to have a longer pin, so be careful with that. So we're going to get these closing wheels off. I'm going to go and take all these off. I wanted to put this one together here before we started, just to see how it all fit after I made my new pins, and it worked really good. So we're going to take all these off and get them out of the way, and then I'll show you how to or how I put one of them together, and it's really simple. And also these poly closing wheels are directional, so, and they're marked, so we'll look at that and I'll show you that too. We'll make sure we get them in the right spot, going in the right direction. There is a left and a right to each one of them. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to jerk these wheels off, and then we'll start putting another row unit together, and we'll get them all knocked out here in a minute. Okay, we got all the closing wheels off the other 3 rows. We'll put another row together now. I'll get the camera set up here and show you how the pins fit in, and they did. Well, I'll cover that in a minute, but we're going to get the pins in right now, and we'll go to the next step after that. Okay, so we got 1/4 inch holes drilled in these pins. We'll line them up with the holes here in the little stud, and we'll drive this spring pin or roll pin up. Gotta get it lined up. There we go. So we'll drive this little pin through there. And I may not got my hose drilled perfectly straight, but it'll go. There we go. Alright, so we'll just repeat that until we get all those in, and then we'll start mounting the wheels. Alright, I told you all ago that these wheels were directional, and I'm not seeing it. Hold on. Yes, right here. I don't know if you can see this R marked right here, right hand. It's got a little arrow to what direction it's going. So this one will go right here. So we're going to lay that down there. This wheel is marked left with the arrow in that direction, so it'll go just like that. Now what I started to tell you a while ago is this kit that I bought, adapter kit. They did send the right amount of washers to put them 1.5 inches apart. So they put 3 washers, and then the wheel, we'll screw our nut up to that point. If it works like the other one did, when we get the other side on, it'll be 1.5 inches apart at the bottom. All right, so we've got our two knobbies there at the bottom, side by side. Oh, that one is a little over 1.5 inches. That one's like 1 7/8 inches. It may come in a little bit when we tighten it up, but it's a little wider than the other one was, but it still may be okay. So I got this nut here, and if you know the law of, well, mechanics or whatever, this wheel's going to turn this away. Of course, it's got a bearing in it, so it's not going to turn apart the sleeve, then erase on the bearing that the nut's against. But if it was to turn the nut, it's going to be tightening it up instead of loosening it. This side, however, will be doing the opposite, if you can see that right there. So even if you snug these really tight, they're probably not going to stay tight. And I didn't want to put a lock nut on here and have to run it on and off to get these adjusted out and eat my Teflon up where they didn't hold. So I've got a plan on what to do, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I'm going to tighten this down, just get it good and snug. Make sure it spins fine. I don't want to get up against that bearing and get it in a bind. All right, so there they are, tightened up. Let's remeasure our gap. Oh, yeah, 1.5 inches, right at it, just maybe a hair over, but yeah, that's good. So they're basically going to work with 3 washers on either side. Got about 3/8 of an inch there from your stud here to your bearing. Close that gap right there. Now if I have to adjust it, I may have to add a washer. I may have to take one away and put it on the other side. But here is my plan. Whenever I get these adjusted where I want them, I'm going to, with a 3/16 drill bit, I'm going to drill through this nut, through the bolt, both sides of the nut, and I'm going to put a cotter pin in there to keep them from backing off. And I may even cut these shabs off once I get them adjusted, just so they won't be out here dragging on anything. But that's my plan, to keep these nuts from backing off and the wheels getting loose. But that is it. So I'm going to get these other 2 mounted, and we'll look at it when we get done. All right, we got all 4 rows set up. Right now they're all 1.5 inches apart. Just for an eyeball looking down them, it looks like the center between the closing wheels is centered up with the double disc openers, which is centered up with the front coulter, and it'll be cutting our trench. So there's only one way to know that for sure, and we'll drop it down here in a minute and we'll try it. But that's the point we're going to start from, where it's sitting right now, and we may have to adjust on it. But we'll see what she does. Well guys, I hope that this has the desired effect that I want it to. Like I said, I'm new to no-tilling. I haven't ever no-tilled anything, and especially within this sod that we're going to be planting in. From what people who have done it has told me, or those who commonly no-till, it's a little bit more difficult in the sod ground. Not so much getting your planter set up in the plant, but with your weed control and all that starting out. And we've got some ground that's pretty hard, so I want to make sure I can get my trenches cut and closed, and hopefully these closing wheels will do it. So I've been planting with this planter a few years, and it does an excellent job. Very good on the seed spacing. It does great. And I went through the seed boxes. I went through all of the corn meters again this spring, cleaned them up, went through all of them, checked them out, make sure everything was working, and they was all good. And I think I've planted about 100 acres since I've done that, and that's not much, but they've set over winter, so I wanted to make sure that they were good to go this spring. But we're gonna start adjusting on this thing right now. Like I said, I'll put that in another video. I just want to show you all these closing wheels. Hopefully this do the trick. Hopefully it'll do what we need it to do, and we may not need them. It may not be necessary. Some guys out there that's planning no-till and have been for a long time, you may tell me that I just wasted my money, but I would rather waste my money up front on this than I had put the seed in the ground and have a horrible stand and a bad crop. So I have to replant or just have a failed crop altogether. So I hope this will help us out, and we're going to give it a shot. So guys, next video on the 7000, we'll be adjusting it. We'll be getting it set up to plant no-till, make sure that it's ready to go, and that's next. But I appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching the video, and as always, we'll see you next time.